Hey guys, what's going on? Hermdo back with you. Hope you're doing well. Let's get into it. I'm going to do a detailed rundown of Steve Yzerman's tenure as GM, his strengths, his weaknesses. What can we expect from him going forward? How many people are still, Yzerman plan trusters? Do you still trust the Yzerplan? And maybe we'll get into some possible replacements for Yzerman if you don't think he's getting the job done. But let's get into it. As we all know, in April of 2019, Steve Yzerman left his job at Tampa Bay and came back to be the GM of the Red Wings. Now, let's talk about draft and prospect development as one of his strengths. Let's talk about his strengths first. Yzerman has consistently unearthed NHL quality talent despite never having won the draft lottery. His first round picks, Seider, Raymond, Edvinsson, Casper, Danielson, Sandin Pellikka, Kosa, Brandstad, Nygaard have all shown real NHL promise. He emphasizes traits like intensity and two-way play. Prospects like Casper, Danielson, Brandstad, Nygaard, and Kiskinen offer skill plus dependable work ethic. Cap-savvy, short-term free agent strategy. This is one thing I do like about Yzerman. Yzerman has preferred short-term, low-risk contract free agency to stay flexible. This helped preserve cap room while shaping the roster gradually, maybe a little too gradually. Anyways, his major signings, Larkin, Kane, and Wallman, are smart and cost-controlled. Less successful ones, Hull, Sherratt, and Kopp, have not crippled the cap, yet they persist. But we'll get more into that Wallman deal a little bit later. I know people feel very strongly about the way he was traded to San Jose. But anyways, talking about the organization, culture, and succession planning. Modeled after his playing career in Tampa years, Yzerman fosters an ethos around hard work, accountability, and gradual growth. The Yzerplan emphasizes apprenticeship, development timelines, and internal promotions, creating a sustainable pipeline of roster-level talent. Now, getting into some of the weaknesses, talking about his prospect pool, the Red Wings have a very good farm system, a lot of very good prospects. The thing is, as far as top six forwards and top pairing defensemen go, the high end of the prospect pool is kind of lacking. We talked about all the rookies in the field right now, the guys like Mazur, the guys like Danielson, all those guys like that. Those guys are top six forwards and can be good top six forwards, but they're not really a game breaker. The last game breaking prospect the Red Wings really had was Lucas Raymond, and there's really not another player like that in the system as of right now. But you never know, one of these guys could break out and could be putting it in 70, 80-point season, but I'm not going to bet on it. But anyways, some of his free agent and contract misfires. We talked about Justin Holl, Ben Sherratt, Andrew Cobb have been mistake-laden, yielding underperformance on these deals. They're not like crushing, terrible deals, but they're still bad. You're throwing good money after bad, and it's just not working out any real sense. These guys are still on the team. I think Sherratt, this might be his last year. Kopp, he was like the centerpiece of that trade a couple of years ago, or that offseason a couple of years ago, but he has really not panned out. Critics point out problematic contracts have been allowed to age rather than be remedied via trade or buyouts. He's got to start buying some of these guys out. He's got to start getting rid of some of this dead weight on the roster, maybe giving more young prospects some more time in the big system. But as far as his pro scouting and trade execution, while amateur scouting drafts, Excel's pro scouting trades and internal evaluations have received criticism, fan feedback often grades trades as weak or uneven. He hasn't really had that impactful of a trade. Remember, he traded Anthony Mantha. He got Jakub Vrana, and we thought Jakub Vrana was going to be the next, big top six forward for us, a guy who can get us like high 30s goals. It didn't work out. I mean, it wasn't. I don't want to put blame or speculate anything, but Jakub Vrana was just not a good fit here. And the other trades like the Nedeljkovic trade got him from Carolina. He was a highly touted prospect. He didn't work out here. He gets traded to the Penguins, kind of revitalized his career. He never had success here. So those are a couple black eyes for Yzerman, definitely, I can think of off the top of my head. He does have a mixed track record with other players. Now, guys like Kane and DeBrincat bringing back that Chicago first line was good. Those guys have really panned out. Those guys have been solid point getters. Alex DeBrincat just had a 39-goal season. But as far as other deals he had, like the Jake Wallman trading him away for nothing, that's a real kick in the balls. And that really, that got panned pretty much universally from Red Wings fans. And the thing is, his approach to it, patience versus frustration, is cautious. Multi-year timeline hasn't translated to playoff success. Some fans rate his tenure as average, C to B minus, due to slow progress. I'd say I'd have to give him a B minus. I don't know if I'm at the C territory yet. It's teetering on C territory because this team has not broken into the playoffs yet. They have improved incrementally year over year. They took a step back last season because they lost some talent. Obviously, guys like Gotham Spear left. Gotham Spear got the fuck out of here quick. But anyways, as far as his play evaluation and development philosophy, Yzerman trusts his eye and values competitive high motor players with two-way capability, often compared to his own career traits. He avoids rushing prospects. Players like Edmonton and Casper must earn their NHL roles via training camp, preseason, not via assumptions. Development-driven progression is prioritized. So this is something that even Ken Holland did too. A lot of guys were in the prospect system forever, like Jimmy Howard, the goaltender we had in the 2010s. Some people loved him, some people hated him, but he was in the prospect system for the better part of a decade before he got his NHL call-up. And I think he had a pretty solid career, but we'll talk more about him later. I might do a rundown of overrated and underrated Wings players at some point. But anyways, the Yzerplan outlines phased development, European leagues, AHL, NHL if ready, if not, stay in minors for future growth. Now, we talked about Lucas Raymond earlier. He went from the SHL, I believe, and he didn't spend any time with the Griffins. They're saying it might be the same thing with Axel Sandin Pellikka, where he's probably not going to spend any time with the Griffins. He's going to get the call-up this year. He looks good. He's comparable to Elaine Hudson, the highly touted Canadians prospect, but he's bigger. He's 15 pounds bigger. Somebody mentioned this in my comments, too. I want to give a shout-out to them. But yeah, I think Sandin Pellikka could be the next guy, maybe the next top-pairing defenseman. We'll see how it all pans out. But as far as salary cap and contract management, in early years, inherited crippling contract from the Holland era. I think he had Darren Helm on there. He had Justin Advocator on there, along with a few others. Yzerman's short-term free agent strategy helped claw back cap flexibility. The prospect pool is deep because of Yzerman, despite lacking high-end talent, and the salary cap situation is much better. Anyways, while some long-term contracts, Kopp, Sherratt, Hall, and Comfort burden the cap, he's kept those at modest AAVs and term lengths, but without correction for misfits. So yeah, getting back into that a little bit, I mean, it's not like he's signing these guys for like max term and like max money, but I mean, guys like, Hall and Comfort weren't worth that anyway, but still, it's still kind of a pain in the ass. But anyways, overall, his financial stewardship is cautious. He prefers retaining draft pipeline assets over gambling on marquee names, which is true. People want Yzerman to bring in more high-end talent. He hasn't really made a big game-changing trade as of yet. If you want to say maybe, as far as free agency acquisitions, a guy like DeBrincat, a guy who's a 40-goal scorer, but there's kind of few and far between as far as Yzerman goes. Anyways, his prospect pool, let's get into that a little bit more. He brought Detroit's farm system from top heavy to one of the league's deepest pipelines in 5+ season. Draft value, consistently graded A- in multiple first-round classes and high marks for late-round finds like Lombardi, Mazur, and Kosa. I watched some of Amadeus Lombardi in the prospects tournament over the last couple of seasons. I like what I'm seeing from that kid. I'm hoping to see more of him. I haven't heard too much about him in the last couple of years. I hope it doesn't stagnate there and just be one of these AHL guys that just spends forever in the Griffins and just like stagnates. We'll see though. He has sold veterans at the right time. Bertuzzi, Hronik, Mantha, Athanasiou. He waits patiently, but doesn't always pivot quickly when signings fail. So kind of get a summary going on. Let's do a little bit of a summary. As far as draftings and prospects goes, exceptional first-round picks, deep pipeline. Weaknesses, few game-breaking superstars yet. All misses are not equal. Player evaluation emphasizes compete hockey IQ two-way players. As far as weaknesses go in that regard, missteps in pro scouting and trade negotiations. Management, conservative contracts, flexible structure. As far as weakness, some long-term deals clog cap space, which that's a problem. I mean, a lot of the problems Yzerman's facing are faced by GMs across the league, so I'm not going to, tear into him too much for that. But anyways, as far as free agency and trades are concerned, small short-term value signings, but the weaknesses with that, some flops linger longer than expected. As far as development philosophy, patience, metrics, eye evaluation approach. But the weaknesses, I guess, in that regard would be fans are starting to question the roster maturation. Why are these guys not up with a big club yet? But that's been an issue with the Wings forever. You know, we remember Ken Holland saying the kids aren't the answer back in 2012, 2013, when you had guys like, you know, Thomas Tatar and Gustav Nyquist. You know, I mean, you saw what those guys were able to do back then, and you're just like, why did they call them up sooner? But that's his thing. Anyways, to date, Steve Yzerman earns high marks as drafting and development architect, rebuilding Detroit's pipeline via first-round hits and culture-oriented model. He's shown restraint for agency and prioritized cap flexibility, but his track record on trades and veteran signings is inconsistent. The long-term rebuild is well-structured, yet impatience mounts as playoff success remains elusive. His contract missteps could hold the team back, but if prospect progression isn't faster, still, fan sentiment gives him a C, B-, kind of that middle-of-the-road rating. If that's fair, what do you guys think about that kind of stuff? What do you guys think? I'd say I pretty much agree with like the B to C assessment. To me, I don't know, maybe you feel some more strongly about it. But I tell you what, running a little bit long, I would like to talk about if we do replace Yzerman, some possible GMs from across the league. But we'll get into that later. I'll make a video about that, get in more detail about it. I don't want to make this Herndo's Hockey Hour. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys for right now. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Watch the Detroit Fan Forum. Watch my channel, Herndo. And I will talk to you guys later.